Bishop Oyedepo reacts to Kwara Hijab crisis. Let us show them the consuming fire of God. All right. Bishop David Oyedepo, the presiding bishop of the Living Faith Church worldwide, has warned that the mission schools in Kwara State should not be dragged into the hijab controversy. Oyedepo noted that the crisis had lingered because the church did not show the opposing side in the controversy, the other side of God, and the consuming fire of God. The cleric stated this on Wednesday, according to the Daily Post, during the church's midweek service, while warning that mission schools should be returned to their founders to avoid a religious crisis in the state. Oyedepo hails himself from Omu-Aran, a town in the local government area of Kwara State, basically. He said it is such a nasty development in Kwara State where Muslims are asking their students in our schools to wear hijab, and the church said no. You know the reason why we have never showed the world the other side of God. God is not a toy. Let us show them the consuming part of God they need to know. Leave the schools for the owner, right? Go to your schools. Is there any fight? Stop putting the fingers in the eyes of others. The world should be warned against the church. The church is a time bomb. When God turns his back on anyone or any system, that system is cursed. My advice is leave the schools for the owners. Find your schools. Men and women can wear hijab there. Stop putting your fingers in the eyes of others when they are not blind. Christians and Muslims in the state have been at loggerheads over hijab wearing for female students in 10 government grant-aided missionary schools in the state. But the thing is, you see, this is the problem. When we do not have an adequate public-funded education system, this is what happens. Because technically, if it's a Muslim school or Christian school, technically it's meant to be private, more expensive. But then again, if there was a proper, adequate level, proper public school, it doesn't matter. It is neutral. You might not even need to wear school uniforms. I mean, if that's what you want to do, fine. You might not even need to wear school uniforms. Not all public schools wear school uniforms, and it's like it's not discriminatory against people. It's not excludable. It's not rival. So it's as if education was a public good, as it should be. These competitions will not be happening, and so again, you have to understand it's a private institution and they can do what they want to do. So at the end of the day, if you're going into the school and they're telling you this is how we do our things, it's left to you to be like, do I want to do that or not? You can't go somewhere and basically decide how you're going to run. It doesn't run like that. If it was a public school, on the other hand, and they brought this, it is justified. It is absolutely justified because the public school, it should be open to anybody. And you should not be excluding different groups because it is funded by the university. It is funded by the society, and we're all paying taxes to keep up the running of the schools and the public system. So it's like, yeah, then if a policy came like that where women or girls had to wear hijabs in school when it's a public school, fine. But if it's a Muslim school or if it's a Christian school and both parties are like, this is how we want to do our things, you coming in. It's a different thing. They don't tell you. They lure you in after you pay the school fees and they tell you, oh, this is how we do things. Of course, that's deceitful. But this show them the other side of God. Like, it really is not that deep. It's not that deep. If you're choosing to make it deep, then it will be deep. Like, it's not. Fam. The directive was in a reaction to resolve the Christian community leaders to defy the government's directive and sustain their resistance against the use of hijab and demand to return mission schools to their original owners. However, the state government is contesting the stance of the Christian community, saying there should be no compromise on the demands, as the government had taken over the schools in 1974 with the backing of the Nigerian Constitution and the Kwara State laws. Although matters of the hijab use is still in court, the government went ahead a few weeks ago to state that hijab should be allowed in all public schools and grant-aided missionary schools in the state. So grant-aided missionary schools. Well, grant-aided missionary schools from who? Where's the grant coming from? Do you get what I mean? So, I guess in a missionary school, that's where, it all comes to play. But just don't, like, how entitled do you... It's a private school. Because, again, if it's a grant-aided missionary school, it's privately funded. Because they're grants given by certain people who can afford to. So it's a private school. So again, that is absolutely wrong. And, but then it's Kwara State. Like, what are you expecting? Not to bash the state or anything, but it's not necessarily a state where they're predominantly Christians and things will run that way. So, I mean, I guess, it just is what it is at this point. But of all our issues in the country, if this is what we're interested in, I mean, we should be really ashamed. Let's put a comment here. Someone here says, use the same fight to consume our corrupt politicians and those who have kept innocent Nigerians in misery. All you guys do is make money off religious fears, which has been implanted in the mind of the vulnerable. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, it's like the consuming fire. Fam, like, what do you mean consuming fire of God? So all this while, where was the consuming fire of God? I mean, as this person said, did you tell the citizens to use the consuming fire of God against Buhari? Or against Boko Haram? Because again, these are issues that are so, in my opinion, very trivial. I mean, the state of insecurity in the country is absolutely shambolic. And this is our conversations. I mean, we need to hold these religious leaders accountable. Because when it comes to actual issues, political issues about the well-being and the survival of an average man, all of a sudden they're quiet. They want to start preaching peace. And that is the thing. Now, we've come to a place where people would rather defend their religion and suffer rather than fight or suffer to fight for their basic human rights. Because people will actually want to be miserable than actually uncomfortable, because uncomfortability basically means you have to tackle certain issues, and then obviously, because the religion, in my opinion, basically absolves you in a way, because obviously there's a level of higher power given, and that accountability doesn't have to fall on you because the higher power has all the control. Fine, if you want to be that, absolutely. But in a way, if you apply that out of context, you can't absolve yourself from actions or accountability or control every single time or every single aspect of your life. And I think that is the problem. So it's like people will go to the extreme lengths to defend their religion, but you will not defend your right to live. I mean, come on now. Priorities are absolutely misplaced. They are misplaced, and you should be very ashamed because there's no excuse. As an adult, as a parent, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Kwara State, it's a state. Like, it's not necessarily a state that I would say is forward and all that, but at the end of the day, to each their own. Someone says, right from the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffers violence, and the violence takes it by force. No need for seeking for peace when there is no peace. During the time of Israelites, God commanded them to pursue and take over their enemies. Christianity was not all about preaching peace, but practicalizing the word of God in totality was necessary. Where is this energy when it comes to the government and its incompetency? Where was this energy in the NSAS protest? When was this energy during the COVID-19 lockdown where palliatives were not actually properly given? But then these people were literally hammering that churches be open. Why? Because it's your business. And because, see, these men need to be held accountable. Like, who do you think you are? It's shameful, but it is what it is. Put what you think about this in the comment section below, and do not forget to like and subscribe.